You don't have to be loud to be powerful. Sometimes silence is the sharpest edge in the room. There's something powerful about a woman who doesn't chase attention, but commands respect without even trying. She doesn't need to speak loudly or fight for the spotlight. Her presence alone changes the energy in the room. That woman is what we call a Sigma female. What makes her different isn't just her independence or strength. It's the fact that she often doesn't realize how deeply she affects people. She doesn't walk around trying to be intimidating. She's just being herself. But that truth alone can make others feel unsettled. And not because she's doing anything wrong. It's because most people aren't used to someone so self-contained, so direct, and so unapologetically real. This kind of woman makes people think. She doesn't play games. She sees through the nonsense. She knows her value and doesn't need constant validation. That's intimidating, even if she doesn't mean for it to be. If you're watching this and you relate to that feeling of being misunderstood or even labeled as too much when you're simply being true to yourself, then you're probably more powerful than you think. You're not difficult, you're not cold, and you're not hard to love. You're just rare. This video is for the women who move in silence but leave lasting impressions. The ones who get underestimated until they're impossible to ignore. You're not intimidating on purpose. You're just built differently. And that's your greatest strength. Let's get started. The rare gems. Number 1. People talk about her behind her back because they're too weak to face her. You can always tell a woman's power by how people talk about her when she's not in the room. A Sigma female doesn't need to do anything dramatic to get under people's skin. Just by being herself, she ends up rattling fragile egos without lifting a finger. The funny part? She usually has no idea. She's not out here trying to be mysterious or shake up the room. She's just living her life. Calm, direct, unbothered. But somehow her quiet confidence becomes the loudest thing in the space. So what do people do when they can't figure her out? They whisper. They form little groups and say things like, "She's too quiet, she thinks she's better than everyone." Or the classic, "There's just something about her I don't trust." Translation? She doesn't give me the attention I'm used to and it makes me nervous. They don't talk to her, they talk about her. Because deep down they know that if they tried to confront her, she'd cut right through their nonsense in under 30 seconds. She's not mean, she's just not here to babysit anyone's ego. It's a little funny when you think about it. These same people will say she's cold or standoffish, when really she's just selective with her energy. She doesn't fake small talk. She doesn't flatter people to make them feel safe. And that's what scares them. But here's the truth. If you've noticed people seem nervous around you or you hear whispers that make no sense, don't shrink yourself. It's not your job to make other people comfortable with your strength. When they talk behind your back, it means they can't match your energy face to face. That's not a weakness. That's power. Quiet power. And it speaks louder than anything they'll ever say about you. Number 2. She's harder on herself than anyone else ever could be. A Sigma female doesn't need anyone to call her out. She already does it to herself, and probably 3 times before breakfast. While most people are out here making excuses and cutting themselves some slack, she's busy holding herself to a standard most people couldn't survive for a week. She's her own coach, critic, therapist, and occasionally her own worst enemy. And no, she's not doing it for applause. She does it because deep down, she refuses to let herself fall short of who she knows she can be. She doesn't believe in blaming traffic, bad Wi-Fi, or Mercury being in retrograde. If she said she would do it, she will do it. And if she doesn't, trust me, she'll lose sleep over it. She'll replay that decision like a movie scene and dissect it from every angle. Was it fear? Was it laziness? Did she lie to herself? She'll get to the bottom of it, and she'll fix it, quietly, no broadcast, no pity party. So when someone else tries to slide an excuse her way, you can imagine how that goes. People say things like, "Well, I just didn't feel motivated," or "I was waiting for the right moment," and she just blinks. That's it. No dramatic reaction, just that calm, terrifying silence that says, "I see right through you." You simply cannot BS a woman who won't even let herself off the hook. She knows the difference between a real setback and a lazy excuse. That's why people either admire her or feel deeply uncomfortable around her. She holds up a mirror that some folks just are not ready to look into. But here's the beautiful twist. That high standard? It's not about perfection. It's about growth. And because she's so hard on herself, she keeps evolving, quietly leveling up while others are still busy blaming the weather. You want honesty? Look at how she treats herself. That's why she doesn't fall for fake words, because she's too busy living by the real ones. Number 3. She doesn't brag. Her results speak louder than their entire persona. A Sigma female is the quiet storm everyone feels but no one sees coming. While most people are busy posting every small win like it's a life-changing moment, she's out there doing the work in silence. No announcements, no watch me energy, just focus, grind, and growth. She doesn't need a crowd to clap. In fact, the idea of constantly needing approval kind of exhausts her. She doesn't brag, she doesn't flex, she doesn't need to. Her results walk into the room 10 minutes before she does and make people wonder, how did she pull that off without even trying? That's the magic. While others are perfecting their persona, she's perfecting her craft. They're busy being seen, she's busy becoming undeniable. What really unnerves people is that she doesn't seem to need validation from anyone. That alone messes with them. Because let's face it, most folks rely on external approval like it's oxygen. They crave likes, praise, and being noticed. But she gets more done in one quiet month than most people do in a year of loud effort. And here's where it gets funny. People will talk about her, try to figure her out, maybe even downplay her success just to make themselves feel better. But deep down, they know the truth. Her work speaks for itself, and no amount of noise can drown it out. She makes people uncomfortable simply by being consistent and unbothered. She's not playing the game of who looks like they're winning, she's actually winning. And that's why people who depend on image over substance feel insecure around her. So if you ever feel like your quiet wins go unnoticed, remember this. You are not here to perform. You are here to build. And sooner or later, even the loudest people will have no choice but to sit in the quiet truth of your results. Number 4. Men find her desirable, but can't figure out how to keep her. There's something about a Sigma female that pulls men in, hard. It's not just her confidence or her calm. It's the way she doesn't need anyone, but still makes you want to be close. She doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, and she sure as hell doesn't play by the usual dating rules. That alone is enough to turn heads. But here's where it gets tricky. Most men have no idea how to keep her. At first, it's all attraction and curiosity. She's magnetic, mysterious, and moves like she knows exactly who she is. No drama, no desperation, she's cool without trying. And that's the part that messes with people, because she doesn't give off that cling to me vibe. She gives off, you're welcome to stay, but I'll be fine if you don't. That kind of independence is intoxicating and terrifying at the same time. A lot of men try to impress her by being dominant, by taking charge, by flexing, but it doesn't work. She's not looking for a leader, she already leads herself. And she doesn't need a protector. She's been protecting her own peace for years. What she values is connection, not control. So when someone tries to manage her, steer her, or treat her like a project, she's out. No debate, no drama, just gone. And the guy is left confused, replaying every interaction, wondering what went wrong. The answer? He tried to own what was never his to claim. She can love, no doubt. She can be loyal, nurturing, soft, but only with someone who gets it, who respects her freedom, matches her strength, and doesn't need to clip her wings to feel secure. She's not hard to love, she's just hard to possess. And that's the truth most egos can't swallow, because they don't want a partner, they want control. And with her, that was never on the table. Number 5. She can go silent for days, and it's not a game. When a Sigma female goes silent, it's not a test. It's not some cryptic move to get your attention or make you wonder. She's not throwing shade, she's simply retreating. And that quiet, it means something. She could go silent for hours, days, maybe even longer. And while most people panic, overthink, or start writing imaginary dramas in their heads, she's somewhere else entirely. Recharging, observing, thinking deeply, letting the noise of the world fade away so she can hear herself again. Because here's the truth. She values silence the way some people value applause. She doesn't need constant communication to feel connected, and she's not afraid of stillness. In fact, that stillness is where she regains her power. What most people don't realize is that her silence isn't passive. It's active, it's full of intention, she's processing, she's checking in with herself, she's gathering strength. And when she comes back, she'll come back clearer, sharper, and completely done with anything that drained her before. The unsettling part for others is how comfortable she is in that space. While people around her squirm in the silence, wondering what she's thinking, she's completely at peace. That quiet storm brewing behind her eyes. It's not rage, it's insight. She's watching, noticing patterns, dissecting energy, figuring out who stays and who needs to go. And no, it's not about punishing anyone. She's not being cold. She's being protective with her energy, her time, her mental space. She knows that constant noise and meaningless talk can drown her focus, so she simply steps away when she needs to. No announcement, no apology. So if she's quiet, don't assume you're being iced out. Assume she's restoring herself. But here's a word of warning. If you were the reason she went quiet, that silence might be the last sound you hear from her. Because once a Sigma female makes peace with the silence, she rarely invites the chaos back in. Number 6. She's fiercely private, and that makes her dangerous. A Sigma female lives in a world that's fully hers. Not because she's antisocial or standoffish, but because she understands the power of privacy. She keeps her plans tucked away, her feelings locked up, and her next move hidden behind a calm face and unreadable eyes. And that makes her quietly dangerous. People can't figure her out, and it drives them a little crazy. In a world where everyone's oversharing, overspeaking, and trying way too hard to be seen, she's the opposite. She's a mystery no one can solve, not even close. You won't find her broadcasting her every thought. You won't catch her explaining herself just to make others comfortable. And you certainly won't see her revealing her emotional landscape to people who haven't earned a single drop of her trust. This leaves people uneasy. Because let's face it, most folks are used to measuring others by what they say, what they post, what they reveal. But with her, there's nothing to dissect, nothing to predict. She gives you exactly what she wants you to see, and nothing more. And here's where it gets dangerous. People fear what they can't read. They fear what they can't control. She might walk into a room and say very little, but everyone feels her presence. They notice how she scans the environment without trying. They feel her mental sharpness, even if she never flexes it. And because no one really knows what she's thinking, they tread carefully. They behave. They overthink. Because when someone gives you nothing, your mind fills in the blanks, and often it fills them with fear. She's not being distant. She's being deliberate. She shares when she chooses to. She opens up only to the rare few who've proven they're safe. And that level of privacy, that self-control, it's magnetic, it's powerful. It's the kind of mystery that commands respect, even from a distance. Number 7, she's unavailable, not because she's busy, but because she protects her peace. A Sigma female is not the type you can just text at midnight and expect a reply in 5 minutes. In fact, she might not reply at all. Not because she's being rude, not because she's playing hard to get, but because she genuinely values her peace more than small talk, pointless drama, or fake connections. She's not busy. Let's be clear about that. She's selective. Her time is her currency, and she spends it like gold. So if you're not bringing clarity, purpose, or genuine energy into her space, she's simply unavailable. No announcement, no hard feelings, just silence. And for some people, that's absolutely maddening. Most folks are used to being entertained. They're used to people responding right away, keeping conversations going, feeding their ego. But a Sigma female, she doesn't operate on that wavelength. She doesn't keep herself constantly plugged into everyone else's needs. She disconnects without guilt. That alone makes people uncomfortable. She's unpredictable in the best way. Not in a chaotic way, but in a controlled mystery kind of way. You never really know what she's thinking, what she's planning, or what move she'll make next. And that drives certain people crazy. Because you can't manipulate what you can't access. And she's already 5 steps ahead, guarding her peace like it's her life. If she pulls back, she won't explain herself. And she doesn't need to. She's not out to please or comfort anyone's insecurities. If she goes quiet, it means she's protecting her energy from something she's already decided is not worth her time. So if people say she's distant, hard to reach, or too private, they're not wrong. She's distant, on purpose. And that distance, that calm in her silence, That's her power. She's not here to be constantly available. She's here to be at peace. And anyone who gets access to her world should know that is a privilege, not a right. Number 8. She's calm in conflict, and that's more intimidating than anger. When most people argue, things get loud. Voices rise, emotions spill everywhere. Words are thrown like punches, and the person who yells the most usually thinks they've won. But a Sigma female, she doesn't play that game. She doesn't shout. She doesn't cry for attention. She doesn't flinch. Instead, she stays calm, still, focused. And that kind of composure, it shakes people, hard. There's something deeply unsettling about someone who stays cool when everyone else is losing it. While the other person is trying to spark a reaction, she just sits there, reading the room, calculating the truth behind the noise. It's like trying to start a fire in the rain. No matter how dramatic the conflict gets, she won't give you the reaction you're fishing for. That's what makes her so intimidating. People who rely on emotional outbursts to manipulate, dominate, or guilt-trip others don't know what to do with her. Their usual tools don't work. The shouting bounces off. The guilt slides right past. She doesn't take the bait. She simply responds with clarity and precision, like a surgeon cutting through nonsense. And the worst part for those trying to rattle her, her silence speaks louder than their chaos ever could. She's not emotionless. She's in control. There's a difference. She feels everything. But she refuses to let those emotions run the show. That kind of self-mastery doesn't just protect her peace. It exposes the lack of control in the other person. It shows who's actually grounded and who's just performing. So while others try to win arguments with noise, she wins with stillness. She dismantles manipulation with steady words. She doesn't escalate. She neutralizes. And if you're used to controlling people with pressure or drama, she will be your worst nightmare. Because you can't fight someone who refuses to fight back and still somehow walks away winning. Number 9. She doesn't need to be liked, and that destroys people pleasers. A Sigma female walks through the world with this rare kind of confidence that doesn't beg for attention. She's not trying to charm anyone. She's not tweaking her personality to fit in. And that alone is enough to make the people pleasers around her sweat a little. See, most folks are quietly addicted to being liked. They bend, shift, overthink every word, just to keep the peace or win approval. But she'll gladly let people misunderstand her if it means staying true to herself. That kind of energy is powerful. It's also wildly uncomfortable to anyone who relies on external validation to feel okay. She's not rude. She's just immune to approval addiction. She can walk into a room, say what needs to be said, and walk out without checking to see if anyone smiled or agreed. That freaks people out. Because when someone doesn't need your praise, you can't control them with it either. She doesn't soften her voice to be more likable. She doesn't over-explain to avoid being judged. She doesn't perform politeness just to avoid discomfort. And if someone doesn't like her, she's not losing sleep. She's probably already moved on with her day, sipping her coffee in peace. Now, here's where it gets a little funny and a little brutal. The people who obsess over being accepted will either admire her or feel exposed around her, because she holds up a mirror to everything they suppress. She reminds them of all the ways they silence themselves for approval. And that quiet confidence, it can make them feel unsteady, even insecure. She doesn't just walk alone, she chooses to. And not because she's antisocial, but because she knows peace doesn't come from being liked. It comes from being real. So if you're ever around a Sigma female and feel slightly uncomfortable, that's probably your inner people pleaser realizing she doesn't need what most are out here desperately chasing. Number 10. She doesn't sugarcoat, and that terrifies the performers. A Sigma female is the kind of woman who says what everyone else is thinking but is too scared to say out loud. No sugar, no filter, just the truth, exactly how it is. She doesn't dress her words up in glitter or hide behind soft phrases just to make people feel comfortable. If it needs to be said, she says it, and that's exactly why so many people can't handle being around her for too long. See, the world is full of performers, people who say all the right things, flash a fake smile, and hope no one notices the cracks in their act. But here comes this woman who doesn't play the game. She watches, she listens, and then, bam! She hits them with a truth bomb that makes their entire performance fall apart. You know that awkward silence people make when someone speaks too much truth? She lives there, rent-free. She's not rude, she's not heartless. She just refuses to lie, even when it would make things easier. And let's be real. Most people aren't built for that kind of honesty, especially the ones who spend their lives pretending to be something they're not. Around her, their charm stops working. Their little tricks and sweet talk fall flat. She sees right through it, and worse, she doesn't even pretend to be impressed. That's why they call her cold or difficult. But the truth is, they're just uncomfortable being seen without their mask. She makes them feel exposed, like she's looking straight into their intentions, not just their words. And honestly, that's her power. She doesn't need to raise her voice or flex her status. All she has to do is tell the truth. And when she does, it hits harder than any insult ever could. Because deep down, people know she's not being mean. She's just being real. And that kind of real terrifies the fake. Number 11. Her rejection hits hard because it feels final. When a Sigma female walks away, it's not a warning. It's the end. No long speeches, no messy arguments, just silence. And not the kind that hopes you'll chase her. The kind that says you're already gone, and she's already moved on. Her rejection hits different because it's not loud or emotional. It's surgical. She doesn't make scenes, she makes decisions. One moment you're in her world, and the next, it's like you never existed. That kind of finality, it rattles people, especially the ones who thought they had more time to play, explain, or manipulate. What stings even more is the fact that she doesn't need you to understand why she left. She's not out here trying to prove a point. She's not trying to make you feel bad. She's just choosing herself, quietly and completely. That level of self-respect is rare, and for people who are used to being tolerated, it's terrifying. Most people expect a second chance. They expect to talk their way back in, but with her, that door doesn't just close, it disappears. No passive-aggressive texts, no cryptic posts, just pure detachment. That's not cruelty, it's clarity, and it throws people off because deep down they thought their presence mattered more than her peace. They thought she'd bend, but she won't. She's not built for emotional games or half-hearted connections. If you've shown her you don't respect her, or worse, that you don't value what she brings, she'll let you go and sleep just fine that night. The truth is, her rejection feels so heavy because it's not an act, it's a boundary. It's a declaration that she refuses to shrink, settle, or stay where she isn't seen. And once she makes that decision, no apology or explanation can bring her back. That's what makes her unforgettable. And to the ones who took her for granted, that's what makes her absence echo. In final words, strong women don't have attitudes, they have standards. Here's the thing about a Sigma female. She doesn't walk into a room trying to be intimidating. She's not flexing. She's not out here trying to prove anything. But somehow, without even trying, people notice her. They feel her presence. They adjust their energy around her, and half the time she has no idea how much power she actually holds. Why? Because she's just being herself. Quiet, focused, unapologetically direct. She's not out for drama or attention. She values her peace more than popularity. And that alone shakes people who are used to being surrounded by noise and flattery. She's the type who will let you talk while she reads between the lines. The one who will disappear for a few days and come back with clarity most people would need therapy to find. She doesn't argue just to win. She doesn't seek validation. And she definitely doesn't entertain fake energy just to be polite. And yet, because of that calm, that independence, that unwillingness to play social games, she ends up intimidating people who don't know how to handle her strength, or her silence, or her standards. So if you're a Sigma female and ever feel too much, you're not. You're just more real than people are used to. You see through things most people would rather ignore. You speak truths they're too scared to hear. You protect your energy like a vault. And honestly, that's something to be proud of. Keep walking your own path. Keep choosing peace over approval. Let your silence keep speaking volumes. And never forget this. Being misunderstood by the masses is a small price to pay for being at peace with yourself.